everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. I'm out in the torch shop. It's time to make another marble. See how things go today. Last week was a little rough. Today, the word is chill. We're going to try and enter the chill zone here. Going to kind of keep with a bit of a space theme. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a little bit of a sparkly cane. And I'm going to do that with some palladium leaf or foil, stuff kind of like leaf. So we're going to pick that up with, I've got a 10mm rod here. I'm going to heat up the section. I've got my funky mashers. That's about enough to pick something up. And we need to squish it down with the paddle. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and grab the other side. Alright, now we're going to cover this whole thing up with clear. Okay. Now, silver foil, the minute you try and encapsulate it like this, it just like disappears, it melts. The palladium does not melt that easy. Okay, a bit there. See if we got it all. So Windows decided to do its updates again, and every time it does updates, it seems like it monkeys with the audio. I have to kind of try and get the microphone reconnected to the program. Sometimes you have to turn the mic on, reboot the computer. I don't know. It's always all this weird gymnastics trying to get things running after a Windows update. So in this process of heating this up, you can see that palladium is already kind of breaking up. So even though it doesn't really melt, it will still start fracturing some way, which is what I want. I want little sparkles. So try and keep things on a chill level today. Out in the torch shop is time to reject the outside world and create our own. So this was not intended to be a twisted cane. So I think I got a pretty good start on it. But I'd like to just get this pulled out. Pretty thin. Well, not real thin, but I just want to pull it out, have a little cane of sparkles. Okay. That's looking pretty cool. Oh, those big mashers come in handy once in a while. I guess I have to just kind of let this cool down here on the bench, and hopefully I don't run into it while it's cooling off. Alrighty. So that went pretty quick. Let's see, I'll clean this end off. This will use this for filler glass later. So we'll leave this out. Now, we'll get started with the main instruction here. So this is a freshly cut end, which is always got little cracks that turn into icky spots, and the edge, even on clean glass, when it's cut like that, that little thin edge boils. So we want to get rid of that edge for sure. So just kind of go around that edge and then pull off the very end. And then as I start heating up to get a bit of a gather, I'm watching back here in this zone that's heating up to see if there's any little bits of glass that I don't like the looks of, and then sometimes I just skin off in general outside layer. And in this process, then you add sometimes new little bubbles and trash that comes off the tweezers. So eventually you get down to some clean glass. But as this gather kind of increases, there'll be this zone where it kind of piles up some of the glass that's not so nice. So I hope everyone is hanging in there and doing pretty good. Had some beautiful sunshiny days. I was out, I convinced myself to get out to the telescope and have a little session imaging the little Whirlpool galaxy, which is fairly close in the vicinity of the M101 Whirlpool galaxy, which is one of the most beautiful things out there for a telescope setup like mine to take a picture of. So it was, well, I know it got down to 10 degrees that night. When I first went out there, I think it was maybe around 15 degrees. And of course, first, Windows updates. Once again, my bane of existence. Took me probably an hour in the cold and the dark trying to get through the Windows updates. Kind of miserable. But we got that going. And finally got the other software up and running. But as soon as I tried to move the telescope, it was not happy. It was frozen up on one axis, and so at that point, I break out the hairdryer that I have for emergency heat purposes like that. I have to thaw out my mount before I could get it to run right. But then I managed to get it running for several hours on target, and came up with a pretty cool image. So that's at the end of this video. Okay, I got a good gather of glass here. Just gonna roll this until it looks stable. That's not the one I wanted. So I want to start out this project with a flat end. Kind of like so. Lip doesn't really matter, but I'll smooth out that edge. Now, I'm going to try and do some little spot and snap stuff going on. So the idea here, of course I can't get my rod quite at the angle I want, but we want to heat up a little place on the front here and kind of jab into it just a tiny bit. This is a rust cane that I'm going to use again, and pulled out pretty thin stinger off the end. Snap it off. Leave a little spot of glass. Oh, and then first I gotta heal up that snap end. I want a nice little rounded end on this plunge. So we're heating up just enough to poke at it. I really don't want to push in there very far. I'm trying to kind of randomize the pattern here. Of course, that's kind of a trick in its own right. Alright, I got a couple other colors here. This one is Blue Moon. I'm going to keep repeating this process a few times. This guy's got a pretty thin little stinger here, so this is kind of more the element that I want. Okay, who else I got? I got some Aquatic Carnival. And again, the tip is rounded off there. Let's see, pick a spot, any spot. Okay, well, we got a collection of pieces. Now we're going to kind of go straight on with keep some fairly gentle heat going on here and start kind of healing up those spots. And this is one where I wish I could magically get some magnification on my view. I'm trying to do something fairly precise here, and I can't really see the greatest, even though I've got some reader glasses in my glasses that I'm wearing. I stack some reader glasses inside there. If I had the eyesight that I had when I was in my 20s, this would be a lot easier. So, then. Going to try and drop in with a little spot of glass, clear glass. So this step here is just to kind of heal up that back side so the glass doesn't want to act like an implosion. I don't want this glass to move like an implosion. And I don't want to trap little bubbles in there, which may or may not happen. If it does, it's pretty teeny tiny, so I think I have them all. It's one of those things, it's like it's a little hard to see. Just kind of go over things again. And then, oops, donk, we're going to use our sparkly cane. I'll heat this in a little bit and then let it cool off, because I don't, in the next process, I don't want to be screwing around with those little spots. I want this to just kind of lay down without a bunch of interference. Okay, build up some sparkles there. I'm going to try and heat this in. It doesn't have to be heated in all the way. We're going to be adding clear on top of that, and I don't want to have any little creases in there. Okay, well, we're going to let that set up for a second. just kind of build this up in some layers. I've got enough clear on here to everything's pretty well buried and protected. I actually trapped a little bit more air in there than I'd like, but really should have make sure to heat in these pieces before you add any more. But unlike some people, I don't mind a few bubbles in my marbles. The complications of bubbles in glass. When I started working with soft glass, and oh, bubbles are terrible. And it's true, bubbles in the right circumstances are less than ideal. But in glasswork, bubbles are actually a decorative element, sometimes introduced on purpose in mass, like the pineapple pattern that dates back many, many, many years. Very what am I trying to say? Popular type of glass that involves a whole geometric series of bubbles. But I don't let them freak me out. And if you have, as a buyer of art glass, if you find it to be objectionable, then don't buy it. Okay, I'm getting there. So what I'm trying to do is get to a conical interior without doing a lot of manipulation by force. So I'm trying to just basically add the glass to get to that pattern and leave all these little spots of color and the sparkles up inside the marble. Okay, so we have reached the stage to start working on the background, the interior background of the marble. And for that, I want some silver shavings, but I'm going to try and keep it to just a very small amount. Going to spread that out. Oh, we can't do that. We need flame first. Okay, get this outer surface good and hot. Okay, now we're going to take some dark amethyst. One thing I did really like about some test marbles I did in the last week's marble is the background just faded into blackness that was really, I thought, really cool. And then we kind of heat this a little bit, and now some of those silver shavings are starting to interact a little bit more. So this is Rhapsody. Kind of in phases, try and fill all this space in. I'm going to heat this from the circumference and push any air. So I kind of slopped on a lot of that color, so there could be some air lines in there. But generally, if you heat from one area and let it carry the heat across, that'll collapse things and push that air out. You sometimes wind up with a little thin hairline. Again, these are all factors that I'm okay with. I'm not going to freak out about some little airlines or bubbles. Give this a little bit of a roll. Okay, let's let this settle down. And we'll actually put this away. Not much silver there, but every bit is good to save. Now this marble is not going to have so much of a focused vortex kind of effect, but we will pull this tail end in. And we'll go ahead and create a tip there. So, I mean, it may still have pretty good vortex effect. I'm just saying I'm not going to make this into the big cone all the way up that I so often do. Because at this point, I am going to cover the whole back with black. So even though we've created some dark background with these other effects, now I want to really kind of seal off the whole back side. And we'll bring this up, the shoulder up a little ways. Let me just create a break line here. Okay, chasing down all these little wiggles. I do this whole sort of process as a way to use a minimal amount of color. Two things, just because color is expensive, but I've seen some people pile up a whole lot of color in this process, and it just is sort of not necessary to use a dark color like this. Pretty thin layer will create an opaque layer. And the way I would just, come to work on these, if I were just use the straight rod and build up black on here, there's a good chance the whole marble would just wind up being a lot bigger, which, maybe that's alright, but there's issues with marbles that get too big for your torch, too big for your skills at handling that much glass. So I kind of do a lot of fussing around trying to just get a thin layer of black on there. So again, I just have sort of a general soft cone effect going on here, and I'm not going to do any manipulating or shaping because I don't want to disturb that interior. A little world inside there. Leave that alone. Got this back side, we're going to do some silver or gold fume. Okay. Well, I guess our beautiful sunshine and clear nights is going to change up here in a few days. Just get a good slug of weather coming through, and actually get enough snowfall that I need to get out plowing our main driveway. We have this tractor that's as old as I am, but just has a back blade on it. And I bought a new snow pants, overall, coveralls, whatever. And we got some new heated gloves. So actually kind of looking forward to trying out some of this stuff. It's usually pretty miserable running that tractor. It's just an old open thing. There's no cab or anything. Certainly no heat coming off of it. Well, I guess in theory there's some engine heat, but I don't feel it. But this timing is okay because I'm quite a ways out from this little surgery I had, so I think I'm okay to engage operating machinery. Which I've been kind of concerned about because I'm kind of the guy, the one in the neighborhood that takes care of the road, summer and winter. And it's got a pretty good layer of hard-packed snow on it right now. We've only had a few inches, so it hasn't really been worth plowing. And it's a dirt road, so, you know, early in the season, you don't want to be plowing the gravel, so the first bit of snow, you kind of want it to pack down and make a base. But this weather says it's going to start off raining and return to snow, so that could be the makings of trouble. We don't have chains for our tractor. It got big tires on it, but I've had times before where it just doesn't have enough traction to get up our hill. That no fun at all. So maybe one of these years when we're feeling flush, we can invest in some chains for the big tractor tires. Alright, we're kind of cooking that layer before we go on. Need to build up some more, but I'll get this starting to heal up this transition to the lens on the front. So this connection zone is a little different than what I've had on most of my marbles, but I suppose it looks too much different from normal to most viewers, but I can tell it's kind of a little different shape. And then this will wind up being this long pill shape, and then when it gets collapsed into a sphere, there's a lot of geometry changes inside this. I know this gets mostly covered up, but I love this fuming on the back side. It's always really pretty to me before it gets covered up with color. But today the backing is going to include double amber purple, and generally that gold will shine up through that amber purple color, and that can be really pretty. We'll see if we can make that happen. Okay. Down here, I've got a coffee cup. Yeah, if anybody didn't see that before, we've got these designs, artwork designs for t-shirts or coffee mugs or whatever you want to put them on. This is all artwork that my wife, Ray, has made. So we have two different dragons. There's kind of a his and her dragon, represents each of us. And then our logo. And she started out with a design off the site that lets you just pick one graphic, but then you can customize the cup. So it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but it's actually blue, dark blue interior, not just black. I really like that blue. And then you can add different graphics if you want on it. these print-on-demand setups, it's pretty incredible because you can just really do one-off creations, have them put it together, and the graphics, the detail, the color, the resolution on these is incredible. Some of the best print-on-demand material that we've had, but we've done some of this on a blanket where it's like a pretty much a full-size bed throw, where the graphics were blown up to that larger proportions, but because it's on a fuzzy fabric, it the resolution doesn't need to be super sharp, but it turned out just really nice. So it's fun, the different things you can do with these print-on-demand services. So we're going to cook in that layer of clear. Starts to kind of shape up a more roundy shape. Okay, we're not super worried about the actual round shape at this point. It's close enough that we can put down our color. Speaking of color, we'll get some of that out of the way. Okay, we'll start off with Silver Strike 5, which is kind of the most basic color. I use a lot of it. Just a nice neutral tan kind of color. Used for all purposes and generally flows like butter. Okay, then, I know, I'm still stuck on this dark green, but I'm liking it. Maybe I'll change it up here next time, but having nice colors that behave well under kind of extreme conditions. What I do with manipulation here, and just being on the outside of a marble that's been heated like crazy multiple times. It's nice to know you've got a color that's stable. There's some colors that I use once in a while on the backing, and they just get really overworked and get areas that kind of have gone gray, and sometimes even kind of devitrify a little bit. Some colors just aren't really up to the task. Crazy thing is that I spent a lot of attention on this back side, and yet the ultimate marble collector is not apt to display it showing the back side. So it doesn't matter who made the marble, if it's this type of lens, half color marble, you're going to display the side that's under the lens. You might notice this double amber purple pane is pretty wibbly wobbly. Normally when I pull out stringers, I just pull it out horizontally, but this the amber purple family, they get really fluid before they get to the point of translucency, of burning off that outer haze. And it is nice to pull a cane, or a stringer rather, that does not have any of that haze in it, but it's pretty hard to do, so I wind up trying to kind of pull it up vertically, and not as skilled at doing that in a straight line, I guess. So it's kind of a weird thing, trying to get the diameter of the stringer to stay relatively consistent as you're drawing it up vertically away from the rod where you're trying to get it superheated. But if you do all that, you get to this phase, and it's way faster to clear out that haze at this step, which seems to be really kind of key to. It's going to go through a bunch of cycling in the process of finishing the marble, but at the end of the day, it will retain much better amber purple qualities. Purple in particular is what I like. Amber's cool, but everybody's really looking for that purple. Okay, now I gotta settle it down longer than you would think. Otherwise it's gonna go all crazy on me as I try and do the next step. That said, I want the glass to be hot, hot, hot. Yeah, it's nice to have this tungsten pick long enough to kind of keep away from the heat. This one's already getting a little shorter because I have to keep redoing the... Oh man. That really tore loose there. What's going on here? Delicate operation. So I have to keep filing or grinding the tip of this tungsten pick so it eventually gets shorter and shorter until it's problematic. I'm going to leave a big window there. It's alright. Try that out. Alright, see if I can clean up this little messy spot. Well, this isn't the messy spot, this is probably the beginning. Okay, just kind of heat it and push it over. That's okay. This one, however, there's really no way to make this perfectly clean. At least not at my skill level. You wind up having to kind of fold it over. Okay, well, here's what it is. Take a breath. It's the chill zone, remember? It's all chill. But yeah, for those wondering, this little tool, just a pin vise with a piece of tungsten electrode. You get those at welding supply places in a little package. They come in some different sizes, I guess. And they come different grades. They're doped with thorium. I know that makes a whole lot of difference whether it's pure tungsten or 2% thorium or whatever it is. It'll get the job done. A little bit of gentle rounding out that back side. And once again, I need to kind of step aside and let this kind of settle down. So I was talking about the Windows updates and the messes with the recording setup, and the audio in particular tends to always be I first fire it up, it's not there. I have to go in and tweak things. But I'm wondering if last week, if it was actually connected to the wrong audio, if it was picking up audio off one of the webcams. That's why the audio was pretty funky. I don't think that's what happened, but I think it was somewhere in my editing process. But do a couple tweaks, see if I can pay attention to the edit side of things, and see if I can make this one better. The last one, it sounded all echoey and being in a tin can. Kind of look and see, you can see that gold fume on the back side reflecting up through the, mostly through the amber purple. It's going to look really nice. Kind of imagine carrying this heat, a torch pointed down into the interior along that circumference. Let that glass start moving out. Because this is a phase, there's a lot of transition that's happening in that the diameter of the colored section is expanding way bigger than it was, and that's really a whole integral part of the lensing effect, changing the geometry. Continuing to build up more glass here on the front side. It's one of those things in real time, it doesn't look like much is happening, but speed this up, you can see what's going on. Okay. rolling along the edge of the elm arbor. You could use other kinds of tools to do this step, but then when I heat it, I'm putting the heat to the marble side. Pull that rod back a touch until it's thinned out. And it's a lot easier to plane cut a smaller section. So this step sometimes involves kind of a bit of digging into it, because there's a whole bunched up layer of glass right around the rim. Working in the workshop with the ventilation running pulls in a lot of outside air, and then I can smell things. Like right now I can smell some wood smoke. Hopefully it's just somebody's fireplace, maybe ours. But earlier I could smell right adjacent to a pasture field, hay field. And in the wintertime, the cows were out there, and they like to hang out right near our fence line to the north. And there winds up being lots of cow poo out there. So as the day warms up, there's times when you get a nice waft of essence of cow manure. So if you're not used to rural ranch life, you might find that a bit much. But I kind of lots of air shows back in the day. I really liked air shows, and some of the military bases. A lot of times they'll have a big sign out front talking about that's the sound of freedom, all that noise they're making. So our cows, that's the smell of freedom. Yeah, who knew cows would become controversial in the modern age? And I'm totally sensitive to people's concerns about methane production and factory farming practices that are not cool. But if you get out into the heart of ranch land in rural America, you see a whole other side of what's going on. They're actually taking care of the land and making productive use out of land that is otherwise with no real agricultural value. And yeah, maybe bison are better than cows in some ways, or you know, whether it's deer, elk, bison, some kind of four-legged critter has walked the earth grazing the grasses for a very long time. Our modern cows are just a little different version of that. Okay, now that front lens is kind of sticking out there, and repeat it and kind of have it tilted up here and try and bring that in. Once we get a little heat built up, we can start some fast rotations and get that to pull down. Again, we can kind of direct the heat into the interior. Well, my little dots of color in there are still kind of cone shaped, but I think of this as kind of exercising the glass. Tip it downwards. Kind of stretch out again. And point it upwards, let it fall back. Okay, then we can go into our marble mold. Okay, then we'll transition to the other side. A lot of times when you touch down with a punty, it's not exactly on center, and so you kind of do some kind of rotations and manipulation. You can kind of offset wherever your touchdown spot-wise. You can kind of pull the rod towards center, so the rod is picking up pretty close to center, even if the touch spot is not. The fan on a speed control and kind of dial down to minimum to start out with, keep the cold air from overpowering us in here, but warmed up now. Okay, drop this into the marble mold kind of horizontal. Leave that little bump out on the end. And then we'll just let the heat do its thing. Okay, now we wait a moment, come in here and bring it all the way through that end. And then using a bit of force, squeeze that into the marble mold. Oop. Okay, still trying to bring that division line in the color and the clear, bring that together. Okay, well I think I'm going to switch this over, punching it over to the lens side. Do a last flame polish here. Yeah, well, it's got a deep well to it. My palladium sparkles are a little weak, but there's something there. Okay, get that off. Yeah, that'll work. So when you can do slow rotations, it's kind of a good thing. Really lets that heat soak in there. And you get to some point where your attachment's not going to allow you to rotate really slow, but you can see this has got quite a bit of wobble to it. So kind of a larger mold here. And then the back side. So set it down gently and rotate. You can always tell when it's rotating fast and smooth in the marble mold. It's a pretty good indication that its shape is pretty decent. There's a little bounce on the end of it. But at some point, so I can see a little bump out on the very front. So you're just gonna kind of superheat that front and just let that settle down on its own. You can keep going back into tooling, but you're going to keep leaving marks. And sometimes it, made enough of these, I can tell, just get that front end really hot, keep rotating, and just watch that edge. And watch the reflections. You get a pretty good idea of where the glass's surface is at. If it's been any wiggle wobbles or distortions to it. Something like this, it's kind of like, you can have distortions as long as they're smooth transitions, as long as you don't have anything abrupt going on. It won't really be noticeable. And then the angle that you hold it, even at this point where it's still hot, still moving a little bit. Yeah, fun stuff. Came together today. Okay, take that off the puntee. Fill up a little spot here. Now inevitably these are also heat cycles that are going to affect our amber purple glass on the back. So you get some color gradient effect that happens because of just even that last little reheat. But we got her done. I am happy with that. Like I say, could have more sparkles from the palladium. I could have just kind of used that as filler, all that clear glass in the background. Maybe next time. Not on the videos here, but next marble I make. Alright, you guys. Into the kiln we go. We're off to the races now. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out, watching these silly show videos, and making marbles. And we want you all to be kind, take care of yourselves, take care of everyone around you, and as always, be good. We'll see you next time.